Welcome to Crime Most French, a fortnightly podcast covering intriguing cases carried out on French soil. Researched and narrated by Cedric and rudely interrupted by me, Melanie. We're the true crime podcast All the Lions. Crack open le vin and let the mayhem commence.
The episode this week takes place in the 20s in the southeast of France.
Okay, the roaring 20s.
On the 6th of December 1928, the bodies of the Richaud family are discovered in their farm in the southeast.
Okay, so we're doing the whole family again, are we?
Yes.
Okay.
They had been beaten to death and their skulls crushed beyond recognition. The Marseille gendarmerie takes on the case and there is a link to episode 14.
Right. That must have taken some time to beat the heads of, what are we talking, minimum 3 people, is it? Or 2 children, 4 people?
Yeah, 4.
Wow.
On the 6th of December 1928, Armand Megy, who's 15, isn't at school. It's Thursday, and at the time it was the midweek break for school and colleges, I think.
Okay.
By the
So
time
everybody was kind of like winding down for Christmas, presumably.
At that point, probably yes, but the Thursday was always a day off for kids. By the time I went to school in the 70s, it had been switched to Wednesday, which makes more sense because you have Monday, Tuesday, a break, Thursday, Friday, and for us, Saturday morning as well at school.
Oh, that would darken my soul, having to go to school on a Saturday morning.
I went to school on Saturday morning and to university.
Well, which one of us has got a PhD and which one's only got a poor undergrad degree? You fill in the blanks.
It's December in the southeast of France, so if you live in the UK, it's a spring day.
Cheeky.
The weather is warm and the kids are playing outside,
Uh-huh.
especially at the time. They were left to their own devices a lot, obviously, it's the 20s.
Mm-hmm.
There were no pedophiles behind every tree
No.
today.
So, how far east are we talking?
Near Marseille,
Okay,
because
so
it's the Marseille gendarmerie that takes on the case.
yes,
So,
yeah, you
so
mentioned
it's very
that.
southeast.
So
Well, not
you're almost
Italian
talking.
border, but-
You're almost talking the warmest bit of France.
Pretty much, yes.
I
The
mean,
warmest would be slightly behind in the start of the Alps, which is a bit hotter than the actual coast, but yes,
Yeah.
it's the warmest area. Although our area gives it a good run for its money.
True.
Armand wants to play with his neighbours, Roger, who's 3, and Clément, who's 10.
Surely that'd be Roger.
Yes. They live on a nearby farm.
Mm-hmm.
It's called a mas in French, M-A-S with an accent on the A. It's the way they're called in the southeast.
Okay.
About 4 kilometers outside the village of Valençol. There's lots of old towns and villages in the southeast.
Just like there are lots of ack.
Yeah, I don't know if it's the same
Yeah.
story, but yes,
Mm.
there's lots of O's for some reason. When he gets there, something doesn't feel right. Normally, the first thing that welcomes him is the farm dog that barks at everybody.
Oh, please don't tell me there's something horrible happened to the dog.
But on that day, everything's quiet. There's no trace of a dog. Also, the 2 kids aren't playing outside in the courtyard or
Okay.
running after the dog as soon as it barks, because normally the kids were running after the dog to stop him from barking.
Yeah.
That
So,
didn't happen.
so we're talking eerily quiet.
Yes. But unexpectedly quiet, yeah.
Mm.
The front door that is never locked and normally opens just by pushing it is locked. And nobody answers his calls.
Oh dear.
So he gets scared. He runs around the farm looking for anyone,
Mm-hmm.
and he stumbles on the dog. It's lying down.
Few.
But it's lying down, groaning next to a tarp, strangely spread randomly in the middle of the courtyard on the start of a path. It has no business being there.
Oh no, I would not be lifting that tarp
Well,
up.
Armand didn't either.
No.
He knew something was not right.
Wise child, he'll go far.
And he expected something scary under the top, so he runs as fast as he can to a neighbor, Monsieur Guichard.
Mm-hmm.
The latter drops what he was doing instantly and comes to the Richaud's family, because all the farmers knew each other,
Of course.
so he wants to see what's going on. There, Armand gets him to the top, and when Monsieur Guichard lifts it, he discovers the lifeless body of Adrien Richaud, 46 years old.
So that's Mrs.
That's
What's
Mr.
Eh?
That's Mr. That's the farmer,
What was the first name?
Adrien.
Oh, I heard Ariel in my head.
No, it's Adrien.
Okay.
It's hard to recognize him because of how much damage has been done to his face.
So we're talking something personal here.
But you would think so, yeah.
You don't beat someone around about the head that many times that you just want dead. Surely that's that's personal.
So even though there's a lot of damage to the face, he's pretty sure that it's him.
Mm-hmm.
He sends Armand back home and takes his bicycle to go and alert the gendarmerie in Valençol. The gendarmes come immediately. They first go to the tarp and confirm that the body is that of Adrien Richaud.
Mm-hmm.
Then they go to the house, and as the door is locked, they get in via the window.
Right.
There, they are first hit by the smell. It smells of days when you kill a pig, according to the description. The air is full of blood and iron smells.
Mm.
When they enter the main room, they find the room littered with broken furniture, bits of chairs, and obvious sign of a frantic search of the house.
Right.
Also, the walls are covered in dried blood.
So we're talking frenzied. We're talking, this is where the
We're
murder
talking very messy, very
Yes.
bloody, and everything broken everywhere.
Yeah, so this is clearly the scene of the crime.
Yes. The gendarmes first find the body of Amodric, who's 50. He's the family servant. He's lying on his back, his arm in front of him as if trying to protect himself. A bit further, they discover Antonia, Adrien's wife. Eyes wide open, as if terrified by what had been happening to her. Face barely recognizable.
Oh my God.
Then the gendarmes discover the body of Roger and Clément. Both their skulls completely exploded.
God. That must have been...
Oh, I suspect some gendarmes had nightmares for a while.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Especially with the eyes open and those good children with... Oh, and they must have been listening. Oh, God. Let's not think about it. Carry on.
The bodies were showing a savage attack.
Mm.
They've been shot, hit with legs of broken chairs, and the kids' skulls were crushed by bricks. The kind of bricks that you put in the bed in the winter.
Oh, yes.
Like a
hot
water bottle, but they used to use bricks.
Yes.
So they would put the bricks in the fireplace
Mm-hmm.
and then in the bed to warm up the bed. Their skulls were crushed with that.
That's to have guns and to use bits of furniture and stone, brick. I mean, that's just barbaric.
Yeah. The rest of the house is also in disarray. The murderer has obviously searched it entirely, probably for valuables. The drawers are lying around. They've been ripped off every chest of drawers.
Uh-huh.
The mattresses are cut open because, of course, people were hiding
Yes.
stuff in and under their mattresses at the time.
Mm-hmm.
Even the domestic's house, just outside, had been ransacked. And, of course, this is a domestic. He had nothing, but they searched it anyway.
So this is very much, it looks like it's somebody's just not come and randomly killed them. This is like they've been robbed and murdered.
Yes. Yes, that's what happened.
Yeah.
The gendarmes discover a wallet hidden in a large wooden box with 775 francs in it.
Wow, that's a lot.
That's in the servant's house.
Wow.
That's his life savings.
He's frugal.
Obviously he is, yes. So obviously they searched for money and stuff, but they didn't find that.
Oh, I mean, isn't that just heartbreaking? You're saving for a pension that you're just never going to see. Oh, God.
Yep. Obviously, the murderer didn't find that money. He found Amodric's bicycle, though, because it's gone. So the murderer went away with the bicycle.
So obviously they weren't taking away like the buffets or...
No.
or the three-piece suite.
Or the grandfather's clock and stuff. No, they didn't take big things.
Yeah, okay. Just purely for things they can get in their pockets or a bag.
Yeah, probably most likely money and gold and this kind of stuff. Some easily moved around and sold stuff.
Mm-hmm.
The gendarmes decide that the murders happened a few days earlier, probably on Sunday night. The autopsy reveals that Antonia was shot through the arm and into the head. The doctor also finds 2 more bullets in her body, 7mm revolver bullets apparently. And other bullets are found in Adrien's body and in Amodric's body, but not in the children's body.
Oh, that's good. He just stoved their skulls in rather than shooting them and stoving their skulls in. What a gent.
The villagers in Valençol are outraged, obviously, because news went around the village really fast. something needs to be done and the murderer must be found.
Oh, yeah.
And the authorities must make sure that that can't happen to anyone ever again. If possible, terminally. A lot of people were saying, we need to find them and we need to kill them. So the gendarmes decide quickly that it's not a murderer they're really looking for, it's two.
Uh-huh.
In a barn next to the house, they find the shape of two bodies in the straw near ripped-out ID papers from the family. And they think that the two murderers, after having killed the family, went there, rested in the straw, I guess, or in the hay, and shared the
spoils.
The loot, I guess, or the spoils.
Yeah.
And they ripped out things like ID papers and various papers, so that's how they know that's the result.
Must be quite tiring work. Physically beating people to death, turning their houses over, exactly. 2 houses over.
Yeah.
So, they have to have a rest.
Yes. The gendarmes also decide that the kids most likely knew their murderer. Why kill them otherwise? Because they were kids. Why go and kill them? Who cares? They're not going to do anything, especially the one that's 3 years old.
Yeah. So
obviously they decide that the murderer was worried that they would recognize him, and therefore they need to be killed.
Mm-hmm.
The inquiry is started by Alexandre Guibal. That is one of the commissioners in the brigade that's in Marseille. He starts his inquiry on the 7th of December 1928. At first, 2 individuals are arrested on the 7th, on the day they start the inquiry.
That's fast.
Yeah, they are homeless people without a job, so obviously first suspects.
Yeah.
So they're arrested straight away, they're interrogated, but they can provide good alibis for the 2nd of December, which is the Sunday night.
Well, I'm presuming they could probably provide an alibi by the fact that they were still homeless and probably had absolutely no money.
I guess, but that's not really proof of not doing anything. They could have hidden the money. They weren't known as being homeless.
Yes, but if they didn't turn up to the police station in furs.
No, and in the pimp outfit, no, they didn't. During the first few days of the inquiry, the gendarmes find 3 interesting witnesses. There's Madame Meiji, who's the cousin of the Richaud, the kid's mum. What was his name? I forgot his name now.
It sounded, it began with an A. It sounded like a lady's name.
Armand. Armand's mum.
Oh, the little kid who was...
Yeah, who found the bodies.
Okay.
Well, found one
Armand,
tab.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
They own a farm about 3 kilometers away. Also, Armand, obviously, who's also a witness.
Of sorts.
Of sorts, but he found the place
He was the dog walker in this instance.
He was the dog walker in the story, yes. And an industrialist from Marseille. Madame Meiji remembers that on the 2nd of December, during the day, a stranger, blonde hair, about 18 to 20 years old, wearing a grey jacket and khaki trousers, with sandals, apparently she noticed the sandals, knocked at her door to ask in a very strong accent, which she said was probably foreign, but then at the same time, around there, everything outside Marseille was foreign, probably. That's how they are over there.
It's unfortunate she lives beside a big, huge, giant port.
Exactly. He was asking if her farm needed some work.
It's not the time of year to be asking. I mean, I know that there's maintenance stuff.
That's true.
It's not the height of sowing or...
Yeah, that's true. So she said no, and he went away. Armand confirmed the scene and gave a very precise description of the stranger, better than his mum.
Right.
Monsieur Blanchet, who's the industrialist from Marseille, he's the new owner of a farm next to the Richaud. He also confirms that he saw the stranger. He was accompanied by another man, slightly older. Right.
So we've got 2 people now.
We have one person seeing 2 people, yes.
Yeah.
Which is what the gendarmerie was expecting. The gendarmes also learned that Monsieur Blanchet had just bought the farm from the Meiji, and that 200,000 francs deposit had been paid to them. So could it be that the murderer knew about it and was looking for that money? Because that's a shitload of money.
Yeah, it's a shitload of money now.
Yeah, so they're thinking that maybe that's what happened.
That's like a lottery win in the 20s. That's a huge amount of money.
Yeah, that was probably a fairly big farm.
Oh, yeah.
The first real progress in tracking down the murderers is a witness testimony collected by Inspector Sabey And we have heard of...
I was about to say, hang on a minute, I
Inspector Savary.
recognise that name.
Episode 14, the Dominici affair.
Mm-hmm.
He is, in fact, the father of the commissioner who investigated the Dominici affair.
Yeah, because that happened in the 50s.
Yeah, he would have been 100 or so. And, yeah. So he would have been old. But it's his son that investigated that one.
Yeah, so this is the father's case.
Yep. A villager from Volks, I assume it's Volks, it's Volx.
Okay.
You must say it Volks over there. About 30 kilometers away from the farm, says that on Monday, 3rd of December, he saw Amodric's bike, but not Amodric on it.
Right.
It was some unknown person on it. And he's sure it is his bike, because at the time bicycles had the equivalent of a reg plate.
Oh, yes. I remember we discussed that previously.
Yeah, it was riveted to them. So he recognized that plate. So he knew it was Amodric's bike, but it wasn't the right guy using it. When I was a kid, my grandfather had a wooden box with loads of those reg plates. He had been a blacksmith, and of course, a blacksmith is the person who make them and put them on the bikes. So that's why he had so many of them.
They probably make a fortune now.
They probably would be valuable now on eBay.
Yeah.
I would assume so. Yeah, they're probably still there actually.
Quick, let's hot food to Ongelheim.
They stopped having them because there was no point really, and also they were kind of dangerous in some cases depending on where they were put.
Oh yeah.
So
yeah, if you have an accident and that slices through the wrong bit of a leg.
So they disappeared. I don't know when they disappeared, but I've never seen one in my life except those.
Yeah.
The man using the bicycle is described as about 170 centimeter tall. So
I thought you were going to say he was 170 years old.
No, that would be old.
He would stand out a bit.
So that would be 5'5", something like that.
170.
Yeah.
Well, I'm 150.
Yeah, but I can't count in inches. Yeah, that would be less than 10 inches more. Yeah, it must be 5'6", something like that. Fairly robust, black hair, a cap, and dirty clothes. Maybe about 20 years old. And he was wearing espadrilles. Because everybody does anyway.
Yes, it's the law.
Yes. The man went into a nearby cafe where Paul Sabatier, that's a very common name over there, who was replacing his sister at the bar, sister was the owner, says that a stranger tried to pay for a cafe with a 100 franc note.
Yeah, that would stand out.
He didn't have change, obviously, because that was a huge amount of money at the time. It's like paying with £500 or €500 today in a cafe.
Yeah.
Imagine the amount of change you would get. So he didn't have change for that. So he asked the man if he had something else to pay. And the guy said he looked into his pockets and all he had was gold and silver coins, which he offered in exchange for 40 francs in notes, banknotes. It was very uncommon at the time in the countryside because nobody is really that rich to have silver and gold coins. But Paul was pretty happy with the deal. So he said, oh yeah, I'll take all your coins for 40 francs. And he also went into the shoe shop next door where he bought one, maybe two, depending on the accounts, new pairs of espadrilles because fancy shoes. Big spender.
You think he would have bought actually proper shoes rather than espadrilles?
Well, that's probably all he was wearing, like me, I guess. So Gable and his men descend on the village and they search every corner of the village.
Okay.
In minute detail. They discover an abandoned barn that contained Adrien's ID and the bicycle. So the murderers were definitively the men that were described by the villagers. Because there are Richaud's stuff I have.
Yeah, it was there, the bike.
So
and
clearly it was them. So now they're trying to catch up.
So we know the direction that they've gone in.
Well, they know because some witness saw some of their next movements. It's a small village, so obviously when a stranger walks past, everybody notices.
Everybody knows, yeah.
So they noticed that he went towards the train station in Volks, where he met with a younger guy, blonde hair, shorter, thinner.
Oh, right, okay, yes.
And they both waited for the train to apt. The train station manager remembers that when the train arrived, they were drinking at the bar. So they rushed outside to catch the train and left not only the bicycle, but also their bags abandoned on the platform. They didn't even have tickets for the train.
So presumably they thought they could buy the tickets when they were on the train.
I don't think we're planning to buy tickets, no. You don't buy tickets on the train here.
Oh, right. Go ahead. I know you can do it.
I don't think there was any planning of spending money on the train.
They have plenty of money.
That's true, but it's gold coins and weird notes, so no. The gendarmes follow the train from station to station.
Mm-hmm.
And at each stop, they ask if someone has seen two men on Thursday.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody noticed them until Apt. Someone remembers that they asked if they needed to change train to go to Cavaillon, another town. There, the two men ate a sandwich at the station's bar, but once again, they rushed out to catch their train to Avignon. So they wanted to
So they're going further inland.
But they wanted to go to Cavaillon, but the train goes all the way to Avignon.
Okay.
I don't know how far Cavaillon is. The trip is getting a bit long for the gendarmes, so they enroll the help of the police and gendarmerie from forces in neighboring departments.
Right. Yeah, that's true, because you're crossing departments.
Yeah, at that point they're crossing this department, so it's getting a bit far for them.
Yeah.
In the meantime, Guibault and Sebey interrogate witnesses and neighbors, trying to identify the murderers locally, because they think if they knew something, they must have been local. Luckily, someone remembers the older of the two men. He had worked on the Richaud's farm as a laborer a few weeks earlier. He was working fairly hard, but the witness remembers that he was also pretty violent. His name was Alexander Huguetto, Italian name, a.k.a. Jules. About 18 years old, born in Loris, Vaucluse department. So I think it's east of Marseille, or is it west of Marseille? Can't remember. West, possibly. On the 6th of December 1910.
So that's a bit further inland, isn't it?
Yeah, it's about 75 kilometers from Valençol. I checked on the map. His crime was discovered on his birthday. Happy birthday.
Oh, what a birthday present.
On Sunday 9th of December, at the gendarmerie HQ in Loris, Sebey is informed that the gendarmerie from Gare, the department, have caught Huguetto and his accomplice. Apparently, Huguetto and his friend, a 16-year-old Polish, called Joseph Witkowski.
So he's presumably the chap with the blonde hair, is he?
Yeah, he's the younger one. Were working in the mine at La Grand Combe. 2 days before the murders, they just disappeared. They just didn't turn up for work, and nobody knew where they were.
Right.
They had just reappeared, as if nothing had happened. So the local gendarmes, remembering the description of the two fugitives that they had received, and being suspicious of two people disappearing for a few days from their work and then suddenly turning up again, went and arrested them.
Yeah.
Sebey and his commissioner, Guibault, rushed there and found them separated in separate rooms.
Oh, yes, of course.
Each in an office of the local gendarmerie brigade. The two men are protesting their arrest very, very vigorously.
Yes, of course they are.
And when the two gendarmes were arriving to the police station, as soon as they had stopped, the commissioner, Guibault, jumped out of the car, ran through the gendarmerie building, went to the room where they were held, the two rooms, asked the gendarme which one of the two contained Huguetto. He was told, went in, nearly broke the door, grabbed the guy, threw him on the floor, held him by the hair, and with half sitting on him, was yelling to him, confess to the murders. The guy was totally terrified.
I'm not surprised.
Wasn't expecting that. And he instantly confessed to the murders.
Oh my God. That's just as, I know fire with fire. Yeah. It was a vein.
But even the gendarmes in the gendarmerie were surprised. That guy came in running, and saying, "Where is Huguetto?" And he said, "In that room." And he just went in, nearly broke the door, and jumped on the guy.
He was clearly fed up of chasing him.
Possibly, yeah, he was possibly pissed off. So yeah, it was him, and he killed the Richaud.
So basically, he folded like a cheap tent because he had some kind of irate policeman sitting on his chest.
Yeah. So having admitted to the murders, everybody calms down and they start interrogating him. He says that he didn't act on his own, that Witkowski, whose real name is Stefan or Alexandre, not sure, depending on the sources you get one or the other names, Mucha. They were lovers, and they were both there during the murders.
Right.
According to him, both were working at the mine and needed money. But the mine's management didn't allow them to work double shifts. So...
Well, no, I mean, that's insane.
Well, that's the way you got money, I guess, at the time. You did overtime in the mine.
Double shift.
Yeah.
Oof.
Huguetto then had the idea to go where he knew he could find money,
Mm-hmm.
the Richaud's farm, where he had worked before.
Yeah.
On the way, the two men bought a revolver, 12 bullets. And on Sunday, it's first Witkowski that goes into the farm under the pretense to buy some bread and cheese. Apparently it was something that was done at the time. You just knock at the farm door and say, "Do you have bread and cheese for me?" So apparently that's what he did.
Well, that's
Obviously,
weird.
he was kissing the joint
yeah.
to see who was there and what they needed to do.
So it wasn't a case of that they knew that they just, closed a deal and had all this money floating around in the house.
According to them, they had no knowledge of that.
They just struck lucky.
Well, no, he had worked there. Huguetto worked there a few weeks
yeah.
earlier, so he
knew the
they had
farm.
money in the house.
Yes, he knew the farm, but I
Yes.
mean, he just struck lucky in the fact that there was a huge amount of money
Yes,
in the
but
house.
I don't know if they had found any of that.
Okay, that might have actually been at the bank, presumably.
I suspect it was,
Right.
yes, because
Okay.
there's no mention that they had a fortune on them, so
Uh-huh.
I don't
But
think they found it.
It was just pure luck. It was that farm that he had worked at before, and they knew
Yeah.
that all
Yeah, it was
farmers.
coincidence, yeah.
Yeah, all farmers are wild. If you own a significant piece of land and you know how to make money from it, then they're all. There's no such thing as a poor. The big houses in the village were all owned by farmers.
Well, yes. Around here, yes. Later on that day, in the evening, Huguetto knocks at the door alone. Witkowski is hiding nearby. As the Richaud recognize him, they let him in.
Right, yeah.
Huguetto requests to spend the night at the farm in the barn. And again, Richaud agrees and is happy to help. So he takes Huguetto to the barn. And outside of the house, Huguetto shot Adrien in the back and behind the ear. So 2 shots.
A scumbag shot him in the back.
Mm-hmm. Antonia heard the shots. And when Huguetto came back in the house to ask for some blankets, she demanded to know what was going on outside. Huguetto got pissed off, and he shot her twice in front of Amodric, who had just come back from the stables. He's the servant.
Yeah.
Mucha/Witkowski.
Mm-hmm.
Let's call him Witkowski.
Yes.
Enters the house in turn and hits Amodric on the head with his bare hands.
Wow.
He knocked him out.
A savage.
He then takes the gun and shoots Amodric as well. The 2 kids were in the room and witnessed everything. So they're not crying, and of course they're scared. They asked Jules/Huguetto not to kill their mom, but Witkowski, not patient with kids, because that's not his thing, just started to hit them with chairs.
Oh my God.
So after that, with everybody dead and out of the way, they started searching the house. They found a wallet with 3,000 francs, so not too bad. It was hidden in an ex-cocoa box that was used as a piggy bank, and it contained gold and silver coins.
Okay.
That's
where
they got
the coins
the
came
coins.
from, yeah.
To be sure that no witness was left behind, Witkowski then takes a razor blade from the bathroom and tells Huguetto that he's going back to the room and slit the throat of where he's still breathing.
Oh, just double tapping.
Yep. But he won't have to, everybody's dead. But for some unknown reason, they decide to crush the skull of the kids. Nobody knows why.
Because they're monsters?
Possibly. Huguetto says it's not him. He says it's Witkowski that did it on his own, and he certainly wouldn't have first killed the kids, second crushed their head. Of course, Witkowski, when he's interrogated, doesn't like that version of the story, because in that story he killed 3 and Huguetto killed 2. So he denies everything. He says Huguetto did all the killing. Later, the gendarmerie will learn that Witkowski wasn't entirely new to this sort of thing. When he was 13, he stabbed one of his friends.
Nice. So we've already got a history of violence.
He already has a history of violence that has been recorded officially, so there's probably more that nobody knows about.
Mm-hmm.
On the 11th of December at 8 a.m., they organized a reenactment. The gendarmes really want to know who killed the kids. That's the thing they want to know. They know it's obvious they killed the parents. There's no problem there. They want to know who killed the kids.
Fair enough, yeah.
And none of them admits to it at the moment. So through the confessions, they know who killed who and how, so that's fine. But they want to organize a reenactment to see which story works the best for the kids. On the way to the farm, the roads are full of locals waiting to see and lynch the murderers.
Yeah.
Several buses full of gendarmes are brought from surrounding areas to create a security cordon around the farm.
Just to keep the peace,
to stop people from coming in.
Yeah.
In the farm, the two murderers explain what they did.
Mm-hmm.
But again, neither of them confesses to killing the kids. As the reenactment is over, Richaud and Witkowski are led back to the police cars. Just at that time, the crowd manages to breach the gendarmerie line and moves forward shouting death to the murderers. An old man, armed with an umbrella, charges Richaud that calls on the gendarmes to stop him. And he was shouting to the gendarme, he's not allowed to hit me. So the commissioner orders the gendarmes to put bayonets on their rifles and charge the crowd.
Wow.
That moved the crowds back.
Yeah, I bet it did.
And that's how the reenactment ends.
Okay.
So they're brought to trial, obviously. It takes place in Digne, been there?
Yep.
On the 16th and 17th of September 1929.
Mm-hmm.
The prosecutor requests the death penalty, obviously. What else?
Yeah. Not surprising.
He's helped by an unlikely witness, Richaud's dad, who tells the tribunal, wait for that, Jules has always been badly behaved. I've tried everything. I've tried being nice. I've tried being mean. Nothing worked. He was choleric. He even went as far as attacking me. Monsieur President, that's how you talk to a judge.
Yes.
Not Your Honor, as Mr. President.
Uh-huh.
It's because he's president of the tribunal.
Right.
Mr. President, I have a clear conscience. I was sure he'd turn bad. What he did is monstrous. He merits no pity, no indulgence, and I ask you, members of the jury, to sentence him to death as he doesn't deserve anything else.
Wow.
That's the guy's dad.
Wow. I'll tell you, I'm not feeling the family bond there. Not a lot of fatherly love.
No, that was easy to get him sentenced to death after that.
Oof.
Before the sentencing, the judge asked Richaud and Witkowski if they had anything to say.
Mm-hmm.
And Richaud said, I regret more and more the crimes I committed. Cut my head if you want. But the children, it wasn't me. It wasn't me. So he's still saying it's not him that killed the kids. The jury took into account the circumstances of the murder, but answered guilty to all 40 counts. There were 40 counts against Richaud and Witkowski. Witkowski, who was only 16 at the time, escaped the death penalty because you can't be sentenced to death if you're a minor. Instead, he's sentenced to 20 years hard labor, not in Guyana, because he was a minor.
No, right, okay.
Followed by 10 years of banishment. So after he's done his 20 years of hard labor, he has to leave the country and can't come back in. Richaud wasn't so lucky. And for the first time in 11 years, the guillotine is installed outside the prison in Digne on the 24th of January 1930. They don't waste time. Before his execution, he wrote a letter to his dad, thanking him ironically for the useful information he gave about him.
Here's the knife
trial.
you put in my bag.
Yeah, exactly. So he also wrote a note to his younger sister. This one was more sincere. Apparently he liked his younger sister.
Mm-hmm.
Before he was shortened, in a bit of bravado, he declares that if the executioner was expecting his tears, he's going to be sorely disappointed. Like, he cares.
Yeah.
The guy, who's the usual guy, Anatole Dibler, by that point had probably killed 200 or 250 people, so really...
That's a whole lot of blood on his hands.
Yeah, he's the most famous executioner of the Third Republic. We've talked about him many times.
Mm-hmm.
At 6:30 in the morning, the affair is ended with the sixth body, which is his.
Yeah.
There we go. That's the story.
And I think...
And we still don't know who killed the kid.
No, we don't.
A century later, nearly, we have no idea. Nobody ever confessed to it.
Yeah, but bless their little hearts. I hope they died on the first blow. And anyway, I think, well, what we can catch from that story is never trust a man who's wearing espadrilles after Labour Day.